Episode 29. We're melting.
Naked.
Welcome to the Pink Eagle podcast. My name is Sally Jane, and these are the Pinklets. This is Caleb. Wave, say hello. Otherwise known as Caleb Craft on Ravelry. He got himself a Ravelry account, especially for the Nick Knits or Knick Knits podcast and Ravelry group, because he wanted to enter some socks into a knit along. So he especially got a Ravelry account, and I was trying to think of a username, and Papa came up with Caleb Craft because he's totally crazy about Minecraft. Then this over here is Rachel. On Ravelry you are?
Rachel Swims.
Rachel Swims. She forgets to pronounce clearly when she's saying a name on the podcast. You said clearly. If someone's going to try and look you up. Come on, you know who you are. Rachel Swims, because Rachel's a very keen swimmer. And I am Sally Jane, and on Ravelry I am Pink Hair Girl, and on Instagram I'm Pink Hair Girl Knits. And this is Titus. And Titus isn't on Ravelry. How old are you, Titus? 4.
I come from
Where do you come
England.
from? No, you don't come from England, but it's a nice try, my boy. We
Town.
came from Cape Town.
No, yeah, we came from different places.
Oh, we flew to Granny's house in Pretoria.
We did this time you say different one. Which?
You need to carry on. Anyway, so this is going to be a bit chaotic because all the children are at home, which is why I normally record on a Sunday when there aren't children. But we wanted to kind of get a quick episode up and say hi. So I'm not going to follow the usual format. I'm just going to kind of ad-lib and tell you stuff as we go along. Right, so we went to Pretoria, and I told you all of that last week Wednesday. Last week Thursday, my mother had her port in, which is going to save a whole lot of trying to poke and prod and trying to find veins and all of that sort of thing. So that's what she had on Thursday. On Friday, I went with her to have her chemotherapy. First in the morning, whose birthday was on last week Friday?
Yours.
My birthday? How old was I?
On your birthday when you were 6.
I'm only 6. Oh, that's good. But it was actually your birthday last week Friday, and you turned 4, didn't you? So we had Titus's birthday first in the morning, and then I took my mom actually stayed in hospital overnight from having the port put in, and then I went to join at the chemotherapy because it's a very long stretch. It's about 3 or 4 hours, and although she sleeps, they give you some cortisone. Is one of the first drips they put in to help counteract some of the side effects. It makes you very sleepy. So although she was dozing most of the time, I think it's some moral support to just sort of knowing that somebody's there with you, because she says normally, you know, if she sits there on her own, it's a long time, like 4 hours, 3-4 hours, a long time to sit there with stuff poking into you. And she said often she just feels like ripping it all out and running away. You know, it's a really horrible feeling. So, and then we came home and we had a few friends round for some cake and tea and a swim for Titus's party on Friday. And on Saturday I went to a lovely craft market and I met Wool Diaries, Sally Wool Diaries, the other South African podcaster, Wool Diaries, and my friend Elaine and Chloe, and I met Tiny Giraffe, who's Helena, and Michelle Mishbabs came there as well.
Sally calls Tiny Giraffe the yarn doctor.
The yarn doctor, yes, she does. She calls Tiny Giraffe the yarn doctor. Kaylee, could we not have your dirty feet in the podcast, please, my boy? Yes, and we went to a really nice yarn store called One of a Kind, and they're very, very well priced and great yarn. Shh, my darling, shh. Hey, Titus, they can't hear if you make that noise. I'm going to have to send you away. Okay, and I didn't even buy any yarn, but let's get on to what Titus got for his birthday. It's not going to be like finished objects in this section, that section. Let's do what Titus got, and then he can maybe go and play, and we have slightly less side effects. So, what did you get for your birthday? What did Mommy give you? What's on your lap?
A baby monster.
A baby monster.
And
Is that all you got? What else did you get? What else did you get?
That's the other monster.
Kaylee, let him do it. You have to show it there by the camera, sweetheart. Remember the camera's over here. Not the screen at the back. Look at the camera. Now, what else did you get? What else did you get?
A bigger monster.
Oh, you only got one monster. Oh, dear. What a lonely baby. Kaylee, leave him.
Does he need a papa?
Where's the papa? Is the papa gone?
Yeah, the papa got exploring.
The papa's gone exploring? Oh, no, the baby's crying. Papa, where's my papa? Papa better come find him. There's the papa. This is the pattern from Rebecca Danger for the Daphne and Delilah. I used some Josie self-stripe from Electric Carnation. Now on the original pattern, like when I did the one for my niece, this little pocket's actually supposed to be on the front. But Titus insists that it's a papa with a baby on the back because that's how his papa used to carry him. So he has his with his little baby on the back. And when I was at my mom, I forgot, I took everything else with me, all the colors for the baby and the pocket and all the rest. But I didn't take any felt with me. So they have no mouths. They still need to have those little felt zigzaggy mouths. So I still need to do that. But that's what Titus, well, the knitted things that Titus got for his birthday. Right, do you want to go play while I finish this quickly?
No.
But then you have to sit here very quietly. Okay. All right. So that's what Titus got for his birthday. So we'll go back to the craft market. Oh, some really lovely stuff. And there was a yarn store there. And if they'd had a sweater quantity of anything that I had liked, I probably would have bought it because the price is very reasonable. But there was nothing in a color or enough. Because I've got such a long body and such long arms, there was nothing that would have been enough. There was a very nice red, which Sally Wool Diaries got. But I don't normally wear red. Not that bright a red in a whole sweater. It's just not a color I've ever worn. So I didn't, I've got so many single skeins of yarn that I need to do stuff with. Lovey, if you sit here, you need to be quiet, otherwise people can't hear. All right. So I've got so much stuff in that I've got enough for hats and scarves and accessories and shawls. 2 skeins for a shawl or whatever. There's really quite a few sweaters that I wanted, and I thought if I was going to get anything, I really wanted to get it in a sweaters quantity worth because I am trying to stash down the rest. And I mean, I know we all laughed about how much I bought at that closing down yarn sale, but almost all the undyed sock wool we've dyed up, and most of it we've given away. I gave 2 to Sue as a pretty, the ones I showed you last time. I gave 2 to Sue as making a lot of noise, Titus. 2 to Sue as a present, and I gave 2 to Lane. I've got 2 for my swap partner, and I've got Sally and I each have, because they're 50 grams, so 2 to make up a pair of socks. Sally and I each have 2, so it's another 4 for the winter winter color for our year sock along. The kids each played around and dyed some. So yeah, most of that is kind of used up or given away or whatever. And the charity ones we've been doing, hey?
I have 3 balls of the undyed for on my sock blanket.
On your sock yarn blanket, there are 3 balls of that.
And my monster and see the right pattern and did skein it.
Where do you want to put him?
I did you skein him.
What does that mean?
See which temperature he needs that he's on.
Okay, you're bumping the box. You go and play with your monster. Yes. No, Lovey, you need to come and show your stuff on the podcast. Come sit next to me. Right, so let's move on to what Caleb's doing because apparently he's needing to leave as well. I think he's got a bit tired of sitting. So what are you doing? Titus, you can't wobble this box. You can't wobble it. Sit down there. What are you knitting some socks? Lovey, you have to look in this camera. Remember, it's not the screen you're looking at, it's the camera. So you are knitting some socks. Oh, you're bumping the box. Put your brother there next to you, please. Sorry, this is total chaos today. I don't even know if I'm ever going to put this up. This is like why I don't podcast with children. Or why I have children that come in a very limited segment and the geek has most of the others. Because 3 children in a podcast is not that much fun. So this is the L. Go look on Mommy's couch over there where you put the ticket, my lovey, and just tell me, let's see what, have you stocked this now?
No.
It's an L, I think it's a Cafe Facet or a Hundredwasser. It's going to be bumping the box with the camera on. Sorry, this is chaos. It's a Hundredwasser, der blaue Mond. The blau is the blue. I don't know what Mont is. I don't know. I did German a long time ago at school. I can't remember. Anyway, so this is the colorway he's knitting. And we cast on, this is for the Springing into Socks knit along on the Bakery Bears podcast and the Knick Knits podcast. So Caleb desperately wants to join in, and this is his first pair of socks. And so this is as far as, don't kick the box. And this is in this color, and I just cast on the toe for him. So I went to about there, and he knitted all of this yesterday. That's what he did. So I think that's really good for your first pair of socks. And he is very keen to get them finished in the month for the, and he's learning Magic Loop, and he's doing very well. Right, you can take your knitting and you can go around to the other computer and watch with the headphones. Or take Titus and keep it on low. Right, so that's what Caleb's knitting, and that's what Titus got. It's like complete chaos today. Okay, right, now it's back down to just Rachel and I, and I will try to have some slight order or something to this.
Yes.
Right, so once you move over a bit, so we're not on two edges of this. There we go. Okay. So why we said we're melting is that it is exceptionally hot here in South Africa today. Well, not in the whole of South Africa, in Cape Town. We're having a bit of a heat wave. It is 39 degrees today, which is, let's check in Fahrenheit. I don't know. I'm not very good with what the Fahrenheit is. I suppose I could just add it in a minute. 50 something. No, I think it must be nearly 80 or 90 something if I'm thinking right. So the kids and I have decided that after this, we don't have air conditioning. For being such a hot country, it's surprisingly how few places have air conditioning. I didn't even grow up with air conditioning, and Pretoria is a lot hotter than Cape Town, where we are now.
But today's hotter than it was on the holiday.
Yes, it is hotter than it was on the holiday. But in Pretoria, the temperatures range in the 30s. You know, some of the temperatures are often like 30, 33, 34. That's all quite normal for
Once got to 40.
Yeah, for Pretoria. Whereas Cape Town doesn't get that hot. Our temperatures sit much more sort of in the 24 to 27 is probably like an average summertime temperature. So 39 is 102. Yeah. So Cape Town, let me see. Cape Town's averages are normally more like 27, which would be 80. Like 20, that's our sort of upper average usually. Yeah. So 39 at 102 is hot, and we are struggling a bit. It is seriously like an oven. It is now 11:15. I didn't even say what day it is. It's Tuesday, although this will probably only go up on Wednesday by the time I've got to sort of put it all together. So it is seriously hot. Apparently tomorrow it's supposed to cool down again. So really on melting.
Tomorrow's going to be 27.
It's tomorrow back to 20. So tomorrow's back into the 80s. Oh, thank goodness for that. It's so dry outside. So we will be a bit cooler again tomorrow. We're serious. So the kids and I are going to go to the mall. I need to go pick up my new bank card, and we're going to buy some last few things for my swap parcel, and we're going to fight ice cream. And then the mall should be air conditioned, but Rachel and I were joking that if we're still hot, we're going to lie down on the tiled floor in the mall, and that wouldn't be weird at all. Right, so what else did I finish besides the little monster? I finished the anniversary top. Just go to the voice, turn it down a bit. I finished the anniversary top on the Monday just before we went out. So I think it was only on the Tuesday sometime that I got to cast on the little monster, and I finished him on late Thursday night, early Friday morning. Actually, the geek helped me. I wouldn't have finished. I'd finished the whole big monster, and I had cast on for his pocket, and I hadn't finished knitting the little monster yet. And all the little fiddly bits, like sewing up the side of the pocket, stuffing and sewing on the legs, putting the button eyes on, stuffing it, closing the bottom, all of that. It doesn't sound like that's going to take long, but finishing really does take a long time. So literally while I knit the whole of the second baby monster, he finished off the daddy one, and then we were able to just sew the last little bit close. I said to him at one point, when I had started the pocket on the daddy, but nothing else was done yet, I said to him, I can't finish this. I'm never going to manage. So he helped me. I've shown that already, sweetheart. So what else did I finish? So I finished that on the Friday. No, early Friday morning. That's right. Yeah. And then the Friday was I was a chemo with my mom for about 3 hours. So I got to do a whole lot on my socks. So I finished the one sock at chemo and cast it off. And I mean, I had from both of them, I only had about here, I think. So I finished that and cast it off. Maybe it was a bit more. And then I started on this one, which is a bit lower down, and I finished most of it. And then I had on Saturday, after we went to the craft market and the yarn store where I thought I was very restrained, I didn't buy anything. Her prices are very good. I might contact her and see if I can get a sweater quantity of something dyed, which I think would be it just, with long arms and a long body, there was enough, but of some, well, it was very close on some things, and yeah, anyway. So these were toe up, rounded toe. As most of you know, this is the Valentine's 2015 goth sort of Valentine's inspired from Electric Carnation that Sally got for her and my year-long sock along. Every month we've got a different theme, and then we organize the yarn for the other person. I did the OMG heel, and remember I said last time I went up to 80 stitches because my normal is 64, went up to 80 just before the heel, put in the heel, and then decrease again down to 64, and then up the leg and a 1x1 twisted rope. And then I came home, I cast them off because from the market I then went with Sally to the Joburg knitting group to go and say hello to the ladies there. And I cast off the one that my mom's chemo, didn't try it on because I had like fancy shoes and all the rest on there. Then from there I went to the Sally's knitting group, and I didn't try on the socks there either. So I'm just turning down the volume on my phone, which I seem to have not. Seems to be blinking. There we go. Went to her Joburg knitting group again, had my fancy shoes on, and cast them off again. And normally I find my cast off feels a bit loose. When you do the knit two together and then put it back, knit two together. That one. It makes a really nice stretchy cast off, and I find it's a little bit not really frilly, but it's a little bit loose. So I decided this time to do that, you do two together and then to alternate it with a normal cast off, then a two together and a normal cast off. It's too tight.
I can't get them over my feet without a struggle.
The biggest problem is I think that it would be fine for any other normal person's foot, but I have a very high arch and a very high instep, so I can't get it this bit, where you've got to get it where this part is the widest part of your foot. My heel is still somewhere down here. I've got this is a really very, very deep instep here, and so I just can't get over my heel. And then once it's on and it's up the leg, then it's all fine. So I'm going to have to. It's a pain in the bum to get on and off. I can't get it on. I mean, the one I nearly broke the sock by trying to pull it on. I just couldn't get it on. So, but I'd woven in all the ends because I'm like so, good. I'm going to have to unpick. I'm either going to have to go back a couple of rows and do a tighter cast off,
or do this,
or I'm going to have to lengthen it.
Cut the whole thing.
I'm going to cut the whole thing.
Cut the whole thing off the top and then just sew it close.
No. You've got to knit. I mean, you've got to knit, pick up the stitches and anyway, so
you could just take a pair of scissors, do that,
and then it'll unravel.
Take some yarn quickly, you wrap it around, and
then you'll pull,
and then you'll have some salt.
No, you
and
won't.
then you can
finish it.
Then you can put
But then you're gonna have yarn, like if you thread a waist yarn through the top of stitches.
Yes.
Then what? That's not finished.
It is
pull out
because you can have it. Then when you put the socks on, you can pull it's as tight as you want up on your leg.
And it would make a little bow on the side.
Yes. and have the bow tucked
around
the sock.
What happens if the yarn that I put in there, like as a waist yarn, pulls out and my whole sock unravels?
Your sock doesn't go.
Yeah, exactly.
You might want to
like
two.
Like that book. What's that book called? With the teddy bear or the bear that gets a new hat and he gets it caught on the twig, and as he walks along, the whole hat unravels. I catch my sock on something, and as I'm walking along the shop, I leave half my sock behind. Anyway, so I need to undo the cast off and either add in and then have more ends to weave in, or go back a couple of rows. But they're lovely. I mean, and it's too hot for socks at the moment. Anyway, so I'm ignoring them until I need to.
I had a joke with Mom earlier that since it was so hot, I was wishing that I was by the reindeers.
Yeah, exactly. So I finished those socks, and I finished a washcloth for Rachel. Is it in there?
Yes.
The little brown one. It's a bit small, I realized afterwards. The needles I had on the plane were a bit tiny, so it landed up being a bit small.
Where's this bag? I think it's in here.
No, I took the finished one out. It's a new one I started.
I have no clue where you put it then.
Oh, possibly the one I started. Anyway, so I finished one like this, which is this one I actually cast on more stitches. I made it wide enough at last. It's not terribly exciting. The other one I landed up about, I don't know, only about there or something. I don't know what I did. Rachel said she's going to crochet an edge on it to make it a little bit bigger for me. So I cast that on, well, I finished one on the plane, so it was my finished objects. Have you finished anything?
Yes.
You finished your hat?
No.
No.
I found it too boring.
Oh, come on, it's not that bad.
Finished this. I did not show it with my edge.
Oh, you didn't show it on Sally's podcast because you hadn't done the edge yet. Or you didn't have that on with you. Okay, so you finished your work. Please can't you finish that hat? You don't even have that much to go. And you edged Caleb's one, didn't you?
And I edged Caleb's one in pink. He was not very happy with me for edging it in pink.
Anyway. So she's also knitting a charity hat, but she hasn't got it. Well, Caleb's actually knitted most on her charity hat.
No, I haven't knitted the most. He's done 1 or 2 rows.
Well, we should be about, I wanted to measure it against this one and see if we were ready for the decreases.
It was there.
So it's not far, and then you can do the decreases and you'll see how quickly it will whiz along.
Then I can,
Then you'll be done.
And then,
yeah. The arm warmers are no further. But,
yes, they are, but I left them in my cupboard.
Wait, Granny?
No, in my cupboard in my room.
Oh, okay.
I'm not going to go fetch them.
Okay. So that made Sunday. So I cast all that off on Saturday, and that made Sunday the 1st of March, which meant that it was my turn on Saturday when I saw Sally. I gave her March yarn and things. So I made us each. She'll have to show you her one because it's slightly different. I was looking because I had to make a bag, and I was going to wimp out and make a lotions pouch, and I didn't. I made proper project bags. I was looking through my very tiny fabric stash, which is mostly like just plain bits of material, nothing very exciting. So I had things like this, this plain bit of green, and I had a much sort of lighter, almost sort of peppermint green. It wasn't very inspiring. Yeah, it wasn't very inspiring for a St. Patrick's Day.
Plain.
What else did I have? Oh, those are all plain. So the theme was
sparkly, shiny green that wasn't very pretty.
The theme was St. Patrick's Day. So I was looking through all this fabric, and then I saw that my sister had brought from IKEA some fabric. Do you know what the big piece is? And you get this fabric, and it's got none of the colors on it. It's just like pieces of. It's just a big picture on it, basically. And I saw a little bird and a rainbow, and I thought, well, if I colored in the rainbow, for the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow with St. Patrick's Day, and I used the green pen, because she got us a fabric pens with it. Oh, if you can't find it, don't worry a minute. And if I use the green pen, then I can just highlight a lot of green stuff and a few gold things and a rainbow. And so I sort of did the owl, owl in green, and these sort of things in green, and a couple of stars in the gold. And on this side I did a green sheep and the green tractor and a rainbow, rainbow fence. Just kind of highlighting the green and then the rainbow.
And then yellow hay.
Yellow hay, yeah. And then Sally's one I made, it was obviously different parts of the fabric. And I also colored hers in green with a rainbow. And I put a packet of gold coins inside, like the coins, little bags of coins you get like for the coins at the end of the rainbow. And then our yarn, which I have already started knitting, is this, as usual, it's very washed out here.
It's much brighter.
It's very bright, and it's on Electric Carnation sparkle base, but on the gold sparkle, for St. Patrick's Day, and the gold in the, the gold at the end of the rainbow. So that's that, and I have cast them on, and I'm knitting. What I love about these stripes is they're not solid. They are like a meadow almost. you can see the definite stripes. I mean, you'll see it's definitely stripy, but each bit inside the stripe is almost like semi-solid. You know, it's almost like a little bit. Oh, let me take that piece away from that. A little bit sort of interesting. I think it's really fantastic. And this green here, I mean, is bright lime green. It's not showing up. It's all there. I think if you look on my Instagram pages, you might get a better idea of what it looked like. And you'll see that I'm doing cuff down, which I don't usually do, because I put it all next to bed so I could cast on Sunday morning. So I have it all cast on so that when we were flying, I could have something to knit on. Excuse me. And I cast them on my new whatever, however you say it. I had a piece of paper here somewhere. Oh, on my handbag over there. 9 inches. And I thought because, yeah, these are the 9 inches. The 23 centimeter cable on the 2.25, which is what I normally use, with the red cable. And I thought, I don't like the red cable with that metal in it if you magic loop it. I don't think it's full magic loop. I just think it pulls, wants to keep its shape too much, which is great because it doesn't kink usually. But on your join here, the needle is constantly trying to pull open, and I think it creates ladders on magic loop. I've never been able to successfully magic loop, and I magic loop all the time with chair glues. I don't get ladders. I get terrible ladders if I use chair glues with magic loop. I think they're great for lace knitting and straight and flat, or if you're knitting like a cardigan round the back. So I thought that these would be okay for socks because you're not pulling, you're not magic looping, you're just going round and round. And then I didn't have any other needles next to bed, and I presume if you're going to go toe up, what are you doing? Draping yourself in this fabric? Oh, this is not crochet. Oh, this is all the cutout bits. But basically, you get a piece of fabric like this.
Here's a nice
that's not coloured in. And then you can choose the bits you want.
There's another whole huge piece in
There's a massive piece somewhere. I don't know where
that can fit over Mom's bed.
Yeah, it's a really big piece that my sister. Claire gave us the smaller piece, and my sister gave us the bigger piece. So anyway, I had the chigus next to my bed to cast on in the morning, not thinking that if you're going to do toe up, you obviously either need to start your toe on long circulars, or you're going to have to start them on double pointed needles, and then move over to short circulars, when you're in the part that needs to go in the round, which is enough to put me off usually, because if I've got a faff with having these needles and then these needles, yeah. Anyway, I hated them. Absolutely hated them. They're too, I don't know, I found Rachel's 97. I found that because the cable is tight, when you're knitting, I want my knitting out flat, in front of me, and it keeps, because the cable's tight, bouncing flat. Like you've got to constantly be fighting to pull your knitting open to be knitting on. Whereas Rachel maybe has a different knitting style to me.
I hold them a bit more like this instead of.
I think I just really like my knitting flat in my hand. And when it's going to stay open, it mustn't be trying to collapse on me the whole time. And so I started them on the rib, and I mean, twisted rib, 1x1 twisted rib is slow anyway. It's not the fastest thing to knit. But I was so slow. I mean, it was just. So eventually on the plane, I actually didn't want to knit on them anymore. Rachel then knitted my socks.
Because I did not bring any knitting on the plane. I left them all in my bag.
And I had extra stuff to cast on a washcloth. So I finished the one washcloth and cast on the other ones. I had something to knit, and she then did she even did twisted rib, which for Rachel is amazing because she doesn't even like doing rib. And twisted rib nochal. So Rachel did twisted rib on my on my socks until we got home, and I could change these. I really should maybe try it in. And I've done a little bit of where I need to fix something for her or knit to the end of the row. When you're knitting flat, when you're knitting stocking stitch, it's certainly a lot better than knitting rib, but I don't like them. I know you get some 9 inches that have a slight curve that I think makes it stand out a little bit and doesn't keep trying to, maybe with a more flexible cable, it doesn't keep trying to collapse in on itself the whole time. But yeah, I absolutely hated that. So when I cast my socks on, and then when we got home, because we're all wanting to do the Bakery Bears and Nick Knits springing into socks or something like that, knit along. And I'm also going to have my socks for the FO and dye. I entered, the pink ones. I don't know where I've put them now. The pink ones I've entered into the FO and dye sock along, and that is for February and March. So I've done one pair in February, and I'll do these in March, and those will be probably, I don't think I'll get more socks than that done. Those will be my 2 entries into the FO and dye knit along, and then the other socks are for the springing into socks, because I mean, of course it's spring, we're starting to be spring overseas, although I see a lot of places are getting, I saw quite even snow in England, and quite a lot of snow for England recently on Instagram this morning, while we are absolutely melting. So I think this kind of green works quite well. Our St. Patrick's Day green works quite well for spring anyway, and the children's yarns are bright and fun colors, so they
I haven't shown myself
I think
yet.
will work quite well. Yeah, so then I cast on, both children wants to do toe-up socks, and I think Rachel's going to do tube socks. I think they both might do tube socks. I'm
Because
not
then
sure.
they'll last forever.
They'll last long and will grow with your foot.
I don't want to outgrow them in a few
So
months.
she wanted, so I started toe up on a magic loop. I do the Turkish cast on. I don't do the Judy's figure of 8. I do where you put the slip knot on, and then you wrap the yarn around both needles, and then you knit through the top. I don't know, that was just the one I was taught. I like it. I don't have to figure of 8 anything. I don't have to figure out. I just wrap the yarn around, then knit. So I find it the easiest toe cast on. So I did the Turkish cast on. So I did it for Rachel, and I got it to 56 stitches, which I thought would be better for her narrow foot. Except
it doesn't go for my hip. It won't go over my.
no, it will, because it'll make the heel bigger. The only thing is, she wanted to knit on the chuggoos because she really liked those. But when I put them onto the chuggoos and around, there wasn't enough stitches to go around. It looks like you have to have about 64 stitches to be enough circumference, you know. So I don't think you could use these if you had really small feet. I mean, maybe you could do 60.
Maybe,
but I increased her up to 64 because she then said she quite likes to do tube socks, and because she's also got a high arch like me, I think that the patterns I look for tube socks actually sit on a 275, which I don't want to make the fabric looser because
I'm a loose knitter.
Yeah, and the socks need to wear. What are you doing? Spreading cream all over yourself?
Yes, my face is dry.
It's so blooming hot and dry here. She's a loose knit already, and the durability of socks comes from a good fabric, you know. So I wasn't going to take her down, but if she's on a 64 stitches, I think that will give her the looseness that the tubular socks will need. So she's knitting tube socks, and she's also knitting an opal, this sort of really bright, fun color. And Erin from the Holland Handmade said that she had just finished her daughter socks in this color, and it's really fun. So I showed Rachel the finished socks. It is quite
if
fun.
you look, I love doing this bit here, and now it's just gone back to plain.
And I think it's a white and
then there's going to be a white and blue big spotty bit that I've wrapped under here, like under this purple bit under here, but it's going to be quite a big bit of white with blue spots.
So it's quite nice because Rachel gets bored easily, so I think self-striping yarn, and knitting's not her favourite, she does prefer crochet. So I think that a self-striping yarn is going to help to keep her attention a little bit. So I cast on toes for her, and I've put her on the chuggoos round and round, which has the benefit of not needing to magic loop. Poor old Caleb has my other 2.25 longer cable needle, and he's magic looping. I think that the fiddliness of that one would actually not suit him, but he's needing to magic loop. So when it's a bit confusing for him when he starts the round. He has to come and check with me that he's pulled the right needle out and put the right needle in and got all the yarn in the right place and all that. But he's doing very well for he's done magic loop, I think, on a hat before, but I used to start all the rounds for him, whereas now as I'm getting him to sort of do it himself. So they're both quite dedicated, and I think you pulled a stitch out there. Okay. And I think are going to do, hopefully, not lose pace, because you've got to get 2 socks done in a month, but their feet are smaller, so hopefully they're going to keep with that. So I'm not able to do my two concurrently, or sort of doing them at the same time on different needles because Caleb's using my other needles. But anyway.
Why do you want to do them at the same time?
Because then I can remember and do exactly the same thing, because otherwise I'll end up with just, I don't know. I just liked, also fun when you finish, and then, not that I ever have second sock syndrome, but it takes longer to finish a pair, but you have a finished pair at the end. You don't get a hoe, which is, you know. Well, I had a hoe for a day. I cast off the one before I cast off the other, so I had a hoe for a day. So in our family, it's all about socks at the moment. Everybody's knitting socks for knit-alongs, and I think I'm going to enter.
Everyone's going so crazy on the internet now.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to enter mine as well into the Natural Needler. Nina from the Natural Needler is doing a sock along using sort of like a throwback to sort of either an old yarn, mine's an old yarn, or a very traditional pattern. I'm doing, because the one reason also for doing the cuff down is I would like to do a gusset and make it a bit longer, make a really roomy heel for my high arch and see how that does, sort of cuff down. So I'm going to do, you know, heel flap, which is a very traditional kind of heel. So that should qualify for Nina's throwback sock pattern. You know, like an older, not a fancy Fish Lips Kiss or an OMG or whatever, just a really bog standard, the older way of knitting. Of knitting socks. I suppose really to do it in the old-fashioned way of knitting, you should be doing it on DPNs, but I'm afraid an old-fashioned pattern's going to do. You're not going to catch me knitting socks on DPNs. I'm really sorry. I will lose them. You know, having too many needles or too many stuff is why, like, starting on one needles and moving to other needles annoys me. I need to start and just, like, you know. So I'm going to do Nina's. Oh, Nina runs her Natural Needler podcast. If you haven't watched, you must. She is so funny and genuine, and she just burst out into song halfway through the podcast. It's really endearing. It's like, I love her podcast. She's full of energy. She's very honest. She gives great reviews. She has lots of books and beginner guides to things, and has worked her way up through stuff, and will give you a very honest opinion on things. And just a shout out to Nina and her family. Her mother-in-law is very unwell at the moment, so my thoughts are with you and your family, Nina, and I hope your mother-in-law is improving. And lots of love from South Africa for your family. Right, so that is what we are knitting. Are we knitting anything else?
I can show my socks on my feet.
Nobody wants to see your socks on your dirty feet. I think I cast off anything. My sock yarn blanket I haven't knit any more on. I took it with me to Pretoria, got a hold of the mini skeins I showed you last time, and
I'll get some of the other.
And I just wait a minute. You don't have to talk over me. I got the mini skeins from last time, took it all with me, and didn't take the needles with me. So I didn't do any more on my sock yarn blanket, but I will this month because I'm now don't have any sort of great deadline knitting. But Rachel has been working on her sock yarn blanket, which is what she very excitedly wants to tell you.
Okay, wait. Which one? I did not. Which one?
This is why Sally and I sew the thing. Well, I mean, ours we pick up the stitches, but if you sew it together, and then every week you can mark. Yeah, but it's even more boring if you leave all the sewing until the end. You need to start sewing up. I'm going to take the squares away from you until you've sewn up what you've got.
Oh.
Otherwise, you're going to have a bag of squares and it's never going to become anything. Okay. Come, you're sprinkling. Show what you've got. Oh, what did you tell on Sally's podcast that you taught Granny to crochet?
No,
have you done that yet?
I didn't do that yet.
Oh, okay. So tell them that you taught Granny to crochet.
I've got one busy here.
Where's the one that Granny crocheted?
Granny's one is so square.
Granny's one is very neat. This is my mom's. Rachel taught my mom to crochet, so this is my mom's first crochet, Granny square. I don't know if she's crocheted other things for ages and stuff, but I know, like me, we were never really sort of crochet. So my mother is unbelievably talented when it comes to all things stitching, and I mean, she's a beautiful seamstress and knitter and everything. So this is my mother's one, which Rachel taught her how to do. I think it was the construction of it rather than never having done anything to do with crochet, you know. So I think she knew how to.
We first did practicing single stitch, chain, and double crochet.
And then you did a granny square together.
We did granny square, but it only took about half an hour to teach her how to do it, which Mom took me about a day.
I think, you know, it's the difference of teaching someone that's never picked up a crochet needle from someone that's obviously, I think my mom's done a few things in it. She just knows the basic chain. She's just, like me, doesn't really read crochet patterns. I tried to do some reading a crochet pattern last night, and it was just hopeless.
Because this was the first one I did for my blanket. When I was doing it with Granny, we did it together. So I did one, she did one.
Yeah.
This is the one I did.
But Granny picked it up very fast, didn't she?
Yes.
My mother says that Rachel's a very patient teacher. You know, we went to tea and she was telling me that Rachel's a very patient teacher. Except when it comes to
Caleb.
Why are you ugly when you teach Caleb?
Because he just doesn't listen and look.
Because he takes a bit longer. Because he's only 7 and he's not 60-something like Granny.
Because if you're showing him like this.
And it's also Granny knows how to hold a crochet needle. Caleb has never crocheted. So the whole feeling of it, when you first held the crochet needle, it was so different to knit, and you threw it across the room because you told me it felt uncomfortable, you couldn't get it right, you couldn't figure out how to hold it.
I did not throw it across the room.
You did. You had such a tantrum. So it does feel different. If you've always been a knitter, to crochet feels very different. So you need to try to be a bit more patient and try and teach Caleb again. She never speaks to her mother like she speaks to poor old Caleb.
He'll look.
He's 7. Oh,
and you're trying to say, Caleb, you do it like this.
Anyway.
Yes, of course.
So I don't have any new acquisitions. The only acquisition I got, past those, is the 2 balls, 2 enormous people-sized balls of the Style Craft, which you saw the last time when Titus had one. I brought these back. Sally had them for me. They are the ones that's 80% premium acrylic, 20% wool, 816 meters, 892 yards. And this is, I don't know if they've got shades garnet. And this is to knit the Sylvie for our swimming coach and Alexander teacher. But I'm not in 39-degree heat starting to knit a coat now. They're just going to have to wait until the weather cools down into autumn. What else did we want to say?
Oh, and I also made, there's one more square I did. I did this one, which is very pretty. I love this one. And then I've got a different one, and that Mom did Granny socks in. That I'm busy with.
Yeah. So the last thing we wanted to talk about quickly was our knit along, and to say thank you to everybody. I got some of the hats when I was in Joburg. I showed some of them to you last time. I got it on last when I recorded Granny's house. We got a few more. I've shown those.
Did you see?
Yes.
Sally said that I must knit this hat, and I said no. She said it looks nice on me.
It does. It looks red on here, but it's actually quite a cerise sort of pink. It looks nice on Rachel. Maybe it's all over your eye. Hey.
Yeah, and Sally said that this one is a horrible colour on me.
On you, yes.
If you look.
It's because you're too pale for it. It's a lovely hat, but it's not a good colour on you. But fortunately, they're not for you.
I
so
know.
right.
Sally was trying
on colours. This one's new. That one, the black one. That was from Michelle Mishbabs. That's a crochet one. And the other crochet one next to it. This is also from Michelle Mishbabs. Isn't that nice? That's pinky, purpley one. And I think that was all. I showed all the other ones. Yeah, I showed everything else. And so I mean, obviously a lot of other things have been done. Yes, a lot of other things have been done and are still in the post and all the rest. But we have about 3,400 and something rand, which I worked out in dollars. I put it all in the thread because I did an update for the beginning of the month. For those of you that are new to the podcast, Rachel is doing a community project with the Red Cross Children's Hospital's burns unit. And the hats are for the outpatients clinic in winter when people have lost a lot. A lot of people have lost everything in the fires, or they just come from really very poor communities. I'm trying to think of the PC word, and I'm sorry, I'm failing hopelessly. I'm sure there's, if it's, I'm thinking of all sorts of things. They sound worse: economically challenged or disadvantaged. I'm just going to go with their poor communities, and you're going to know what I mean. And I'm not meaning to be derogatory to anyone, but there really are people that are much closer to the breadline. And so having a hand knitted hat is nice and warm for winter, and also shows some love. Somebody sending you something. And the toiletry packs are for the mothers in the hospital that stay with the kids for sometimes 2-3 weeks at a time. and will arrive at the hospital often with nothing, the clothes on their back, and they need to be there for quite a long time. So they hand out a toiletry pack because hygiene is so important with open wounds in a burns unit, that the mothers then obviously for their own hygiene and their help with looking after the children. So they had these little toiletry packs for themselves and for the children. So they knitted. I mean, of course, we could go buy a whole lot of face cloths as well. Under no illusion that we could just buy washcloths, But I think at a time like that, to get something handmade is just makes it that a little bit more special, yes. So the money is towards buying the toiletries to go into the toiletry packs with the face cloth, the Vaseline, cream. There's a list of things we need to put in it. So that's to buy that. And it's such an enormous thank you to everybody that's donated money to that. And we will show you everything. And the hats and everything, but the generous donations, and we can buy all the stuff for the toiletry kits, is just amazing, and we're really touched because we can make up a lot more than we could ever do if it was just out of our own pocket. We can really make up some really nice toiletry kits. I wanted to make something for the doctor of the burns unit. She's got 2 small children and she works flat out there, and I heard her say to somebody, I think it was a child that was in casualty, so it might be they're not going to admit the person. And so if they're not going to admit them, the nurses are very short-staffed as it is. But for a lot of the nurses, especially when you're working under sort of pressurized conditions or whatever, I think she feels that some of them see it just as a job rather than a vocation. She sees it as her life calling to do this work in the burns unit. And the turnaround of nurses is quite high. And she said, well, the nurses won't wash them, which I think was somebody that's come into the casualty but it's not going to be admitted, but they still need to be cleaned and washed and dressed properly, and there's no place to have a bath or to clean them in the casualty. And she said to the one doctor that was there, bring them up and I will do it. And I have never in all my nursing career heard of a doctor that's going to go and give someone a bath. Never. I mean, it's just, that's work nurses do. They don't kind of almost deem themselves to stoop to the level of doing that. And she does that. She will go, if no one's going to do it, she will do it. She's just money. She started the charity, which is the Phoenix, out of the fire. So she calls it the Phoenix Charity, which is the one that helps to raise the money and do the stuff for making all these toiletry packs and other sort of things. So we're helping with that a little bit. But she's incredible, and I wanted to make her something or give her something, or so if anybody's got a really good idea of what they think a very busy doctor might appreciate.
Nothing like a shawl, because a shawl, if she's busy,
she couldn't wear it. I mean, it also could be something that she could use at home. I don't know. I'm racking my brains a bit. I don't know if I should just send her to a, even said what about like a spa or something. I just don't know if a busy doctor like that would ever go. It's the kind of thing that I'm sure if my dad got a, I mean, that's my dad as a doctor ever go to, but like, you've got to find the time to go and do these. When you've got 2 small children and you're trying to spend what little bit of off time you've got with them, I don't know. South Africa doesn't really get cold enough for a hat.
What about something nice for her to do with her children, like a board game or something?
I don't know. If anyone's got any good ideas about what we can give the doctor, please put some things up in front. Then that would be great if you could kind of help us with some good ideas. And that's the last thing. Our charity runs until the charity knit along runs until the end of March. So you've still got time to knit your hats and washcloths. The prize is I'm donating one of each of my hat patterns will be you can win one of each of my digital hat patterns will be up for grabs, and the yarn is the from Heartland that I used for the Lapsang hat, that Moy River Bulky, which is absolutely gorgeous. And the winner gets to choose a color, and Michelle will custom dye it and get it to you. So I don't have the yarn to show you because you get to choose what color you want and liaise with Michelle, and then I will sort it out. So that is the prizes for the Knit Along. Just to say thank you so much for helping us with this sort of charitable drive, and we are just very, very grateful. So thank you so much. And that is all our knitting, and we are now going to go to the shop so we can stop melting. I actually have sweat running everywhere. I can feel between my legs. I can feel like, you know, running down my knees where they're bending, you know, everywhere. I am just literally melting.
Pippin's not even running around. Pippin's been in line like this the whole day.
Yeah. So I have a short video clip about our last remaining chicken that I will show you. The one chicken, we had a lady house sitting for us, and when she came home the one day, one of our chickens was dead. I think it might have been the one that we were looking after.
It was the one that was very
It was sick and we nursed back to health. She seemed to have died quite suddenly, and it wasn't as hot last week, and there was no blood around her, so we don't know. Our chickens are a little older, and they don't lay as regularly anymore.
The one that died was 3 and his sister's the same age.
Yeah, they're about 3. I mean, chickens' egg-laying life is till about 2.5 that they're really productive. And we don't kill ours or anything when they're not productive anymore. But they can live till about 5, and apparently some very pampered chickens have lived to 20. But I mean, that's quite.
Leia was over 5.
Was she?
Yes, but she could have lived.
She would have lived much longer. Yeah, I don't know what. That was the one that got attacked by the bird of, you know, prey or whatever. So there's a little video about our chickens. We might be getting some new chickens. So, because we're only down to 1, and chickens don't like to be alone. I know, my love. We're nearly finished. So we're gonna say goodbye. No, I think we're long enough for today. We're all melting. I will talk about the pig and the blankets another day because it's now hot. So thanks very much for joining us. And sorry this has been disjointed and loud and children every time. Just want to come wave goodbye.
And melting.
Well, can you wave? Can you say bye?
Bye.
Bye. So, for those of you that were interested in our chicken news, we came back from holiday and we're 1 chicken down. So that means we've just got this little one left. Her name is Jewel. She's the only one that didn't have a Star Wars name. And now this through here is actually my vegetable garden, or what used to be my vegetable garden. There's a granadilla there. The only thing that's really survived is probably the rosemary. As you can see here, some very dilapidated weeds and a bit of what I think was pepper growing at one point. Anyway, so the vegetable garden used to be cordoned off not to keep the chickens in, but actually to keep the chickens out so that my vegetables would grow. This is my granadilla plant. I think it might be called a passion fruit overseas. Now this was given to us at a baby shower before Titus was born, and my friends had a funny sense of humor. They said it was our passion flower plant for Titus. Anyway, so this is actually to keep the chickens out of the vegetables until we got that. This little monkey is the sole reason the chickens now have to be cooped up in the chicken coop, and I don't get to have a vegetable garden because Pippy chases chickens. Yes, you chase chickens, don't you? Yes. So he chases, and then he's never actually attacked them. They squat down because they're stupid, so they do like a fight or flight thing. And then he jumps on top of them, pulls out their neck feathers. So we had to put them in the vegetable garden to protect them. But this is actually their coop here. And then this door over here used to be open, and the fence was closed off between the vegetable patch. Now there's a little hole in the fence down there, and they can go through into the vegetable garden, and they're sort of closed off. But now I really want to have my vegetable garden back. So this is their laying box, you see. Then you open up here, and then there you go. There's an egg. But because we've only got 1 chicken, it's not also really good to only keep 1 chicken because they're quite social animals. They're like a flock, you know, they don't really like being completely on their own. So the plan is actually, I'm trying to phone today to find some point of lay chickens, which means chickens at the right stage of laying. So what I actually want to do is extend the fence that way against the wall there, so we don't lose any garden, and open up the chicken coop so they can go in and out from there, but then they go chicken coop that way, and then to grow the granadilla passion fruit that's on the roof there over the whole thing, so it makes shade over the whole thing. Because I mean, today it's not always this hot in Cape Town. But today's 39 degrees. I'm not sure what that is in Fahrenheit, but it's frightfully hot today. So you've got to make sure that they've got, you know, access to quite a lot of shade. So that's the plan. That's the chicken news, because I know some of you said that you liked hearing about our chickens. So then what we'll do is we'll take this piece of fence here, which you won't need for keeping the chickens out, and we'll move it down there, and then we'll open this out because the dogs are fine in the vegetable patch. It's just the fence was there originally for the chickens to keep them out, and they free range the whole garden, but Pippin kind of put an end to that. So that's our chicken news. So if we do get some little we're not going to get chicks. We're hopefully going to get pointed lace. They're about 3 months old. But if we get some new ones, I'll be sure to show you.